Aloha. So here is the idea to practice. It hurts a little bit with the first one, but if we get used to like letting this thumb go and just putting our fingers on the fretboard and not even utilizing that thumb like we normally would, sticking straight up, nor pointing in that direction, which is bad improper technique, but just like to not use the thumb at all as if it's not functioning, and just use that first finger and then your second finger to pinch, boom and boom. In fact, I'm just kind of keeping my thumb down here, which is doing nothing. It's not even touching the back. Then I move it right down to the 9th fret and play 9 and 9. So I've got this one at 10 and 11, meaning at 9 and 9, they're on both the same fret. I'm gonna move that down all the way to the 7th fret to get that the major with the minor note, and then I've got it 5th fret, major with a major note. 3rd fret, and then 2nd fret again. It's gonna be the same fret. So what we see here, the tendency to see a major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, major, major. When we're moving through our canon as such, when we try with our second fingering, there's 2 different ways to play which help get the fingers nice and strengthened, especially that 3rd finger and then the pinky for the second type of this exercise. So the first one would cover this, the second one would cover these, and then you could also draw this back so it makes the same exact kind of shape, that minor. So a good way to hear them all and get used to doing this as a practice is quite literally do the first one with your second finger and then drop down to your minor. Remember when you're doing your major to your minor, you can keep going like this on and on, but if you're just plucking just these 2 notes, you're not really going to have an issue with where else you're playing. Because those are the only 2 notes you're playing. When you start playing other notes with that, then it changes. What I try and do is stick with the tonics, the root, the 1, and then the 5, the dominant on all these. So if I'm doing a D here, I'll do a D up here. If I'm doing a D here, I'll do my D here. Sometimes I'll throw in my 5 on top of that but then we're just building a whole major chord, which is avoiding the purpose of having alternate chords. So I would say doing the practice of this with one hand going down and then the finger following suit all the way down. And then the next time, leave that finger off. Try that. You could also put that pinky up top. And believe it or not, if you do it right, you can put the first finger up there too. Sometimes if you try doing double note chords on certain chords like the G and the D string right in the middle, it actually sounds really well with your minors, not so much with your majors, unless you were to throw this finger back to get a 7th chord. So what I'd like to do is get up close here and explain what I was explaining in our session together, just so it makes a little bit more sense and you'll always have this video. When I'm doing my D up here, it's based out of my D major. This shape looks like an E major, which resides here. If I played it like this, with the first finger on the G sharp, second finger on the B, and 3rd finger on the E, if I switch all those to my second fingering, which is our teeter-totter exercise, I can scoot that up to an F major, thusly giving me that G sharp turns into an A, that B turns into a C, and then that E turns into an E sharp or an F. So when we get to that point and we're playing that F sharp, G, G sharp, A, B flat, B, C, what happens when you're going through these canon type chords, you'll see that the chords up here that you're using for your D major, and then when we're going all the way, let's say, to the G down here, and you're using this one. Since the back fat is muting the A string, and then you're playing the 3rd, if you have your first finger out, it's much easier to be able to put your first finger down. It's much easier to be able to put your first finger down and then mute that. So you're not actually playing it, but it's muting that note. So if you're playing a G and you've got your second finger on the 3rd fret of the E string, it makes the G note. Then we have our 3rd here. So this is going to be our B, G, A, B. It's the octave of that right there. And then if you're not using that first finger, I can mute that D string. Now, granted, for a major, G major, that D is in there. But if we're doing a G sharp, I don't want to hear that D over the top of this. So I can just put my finger down over the top and mute it. If I put another finger down, play that there, and then put my finger up here, I can get my double Gs, right? And then I can have this finger. But those chords generally are really hard to play, and it utilizes all fingers in crazy directions. So I would say stick with the ones I'm showing you here. but adventured to find those notes other places. So that's a great one, G minor, G major. However, when you are playing that G minor, I like to incorporate the dominant seventh. So if I were to play just the G minor, utilizing these two fingers based off of the concept that an E major would have taken off the G sharp and made a G, B, D. When we move our B, D up to get our F major, we still are going to have our C and our F, thusly C sharp, F sharp, and we're going for our F sharp, and then a D and an A. I'm sorry, that is incorrect. A D and a G when we get all the way up there. So when we have these notes, if we take this away and bar the whole thing, B flat, D, and then C. So this is a C11 chord. Not quite a G minor, very, very close. However, what we're going to want to do is influence some dead notes here. So what I like to do is play with my second finger, put it on the G, let the back fat mute that A. Third finger and pinky are going to be playing the same fret, but they're going to be playing on the G and the B string. And then the back of the fat on the pinky mutes that top E. Now granted, you could play the whole thing, gives you that G, but I like to be able to move this up and down, and that functionality allows me to play a G sharp minor, A minor, B flat minor, B minor, C, all the way up. And this chord sounds really good to me when you start utilizing that high E open on such chords like the G, the B, yep, the D. So you see where I'm going? You got to hit the wrong notes to get the right ones. However, these finger structures are exactly what I've been teaching, and I'd like to go through the process of moving on to show you how you could utilize the major and minor relatives of it. So this is a G minor, and I want to go from my G major to my E minor. The G minor and the G, the B, basically, or the F, they're all relative. So whatever you're moving your fingers to, you could find that utilizing this note from having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in B flat major, that G minor is going to work because they have the same notes, as you know. So I want to make sure that we can correlate how easy to play these alternate chords is. All right. The song that I was thinking of, that Dave Matthews song, was it does like the second finger, then do a G, A. Goes from the B minor to the A major, and what that's doing is attacking on the down low B, playing through this note while keeping the finger on there, super legato, and then it uses that duration to slide down and then lay down a finger on the A note on the 5th fret of the E string. So the rhythm is down. So what I'm going to do is play that same rhythm, but I'm going to keep my rhythm. I was subdividing it for us. I like the rhythm. Because you kind of have to have the hand work the strings at a certain part to get the dynamics of those. Very interesting. I'm going to try and figure out the name of that too. It's eluding me right now. Other than that, work on the first, the second, and dare I say even the third. All that's going to do is make that pinky stronger, and it's great because these two fingers are utilized in chords like this one. Believe it or not. So when we get used to playing with these different fingerings, the bar chords should become a little less strenuous. And there's ways to do workarounds with our thumb, which I know you're not a big fan of that either, but there are ways to do workarounds. The next venture of chords I'd like to show you are 6 chords and 9 chords, just because a lot of them are easier than we make them out to be. In certain keys, they're a lot easier too. I'll peruse my chord list too and come up with a couple ones that'll be fun. And then if you could, throw me a couple tunes that you've been working on as well, and I will learn those in their completion, and I will have them prepared. All right, it's good seeing you. I'll see you next week. Aloha.